there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corse, and I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. I'm breaking out the archives. This is when we were called retail construction way back in the day. This is O'Reilly Automotive back in March, April 2005, 18 years ago. Anyway, another really good looking issue. This issue was 208 pages. Okay. This is what I look like in front of my Bugatti out by the lake. Actually, I have brown hair and there's no gray showing yet, so that was a long time ago. But anyway, it's always nice to have the magazine in my hands, and look back at, what was going on 18 years ago. So, but that's when we were retail construction. But we went digital back in August of 2021 and haven't looked back since. And don't miss the printer, don't miss the post office and all that stuff. Digital, best decision we ever made. And we're just rolling right along. So I hope everybody's having a great short week for the Memorial Day weekend. It's Thursday, one more day, and the weekend's ahead of us. You got, let's see what's going on tonight. I think the NHL playoffs and the NBA finals, they all start. It's basically summertime, all the college stuff. I think the softball's still going on, and I think the College World Series is coming up too. So they're still playing ball in the college ranks. But other than that, I'm getting ready for the summer and the old guys league and sweating my tail off, running up and down those. I tell my wife, I'm like, all I need is a couple of shifts. I'm not looking for my professional playing days are over, so I just like an X amount of shifts, and end up in the parking lot after the game and everybody's like, hey, we all have to go to work tomorrow. So, on Monday, but all in all, getting ready for the summer and, trying to stay cool because we know the humidity's coming. Today, it's a little overcast, about 80 some odd degrees. It's been beautiful here in Atlanta, but we're waiting for the humidity. I know I'm just going to wake up one day and it's going to go boom, hit me right in the face like a 2x4, and the humidity is going to be turned on, and it's coming. So anyway, today I have a special guest down in the big state of Texas, down in Big D in Dallas. Her name is Pam Goodwin. She's in commercial real estate and with, she's got several companies, but I know her as Pam Goodwin with Goodwin Commercial, but she'll tell you differently. So Pam, say hello from Dallas.
Hello, and it is humid here. I'm glad you don't have to worry about your, hair like I do, but thank you for having me on. I know talking about sports, I am a huge sports buff. Being from Nebraska, and you mentioned the College World Series, which is coming up, and it's always a fun time, in Omaha. So if you are going to the College World Series, I have to tell you about my two favorite restaurants, which is Spaghetti Works, and Nebraska's known for their steakhouses. So you have to go to 𝐊𝐿 Steakhouse. Been going there since I was a little kid. But thank you so much for having me on your show.
Hey, welcome. Hey, there you go. You're getting a referral from a Nebraskan, an original, and that's right. They do have the out in Omaha. That's where they do the World Series, and it is coming up. And all in all, it's always nice to know when you go into a city or you're going to some event. I watch diners, dives, and whatever with Guy Fieri, and so whenever I go on the road, I'll Google, Guy Fieri's, joints that, he's covered, on his show. And it's always cool to go to someplace that you've never been and go get a really good, delicious meal. So we appreciate that insight. So, well, Pam, the way that works on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk, we do it in three phases. You're going to tell us your story, where you grew up, how many kids you have, if you played any sports yourself, and how you ended up where you are today as a jack of all trades, as the entrepreneur that you are down there in Dallas. Then we'll talk about lessons learned over the last 3 years of the roller coaster that we've all been in, and that wild ride that's going up and down. Every day is an adventure. And then I'll leave one positive thought or phrase, your contact info, and then we'll close the show out. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Well, thank you. I know it's as I mentioned, I was born and raised in Omaha, and it was just a great place to, be brought up. Ended up going to the University of Nebraska down at Lincoln. So I am a huge Nebraska Cornhusker fan. And when I was going there, they are always like #1 top team.
Sure.
And my father was always an entrepreneur, and my grandfather was in Omaha. And I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and we traveled a lot as kids, loved hotel, thought I wanted to be a hotel interior designer, and actually did get my degree in interior design. And my first job offer a long time ago was with JW Marriott to move to Bethesda for $21,000 a year, which if I calculate that, I think that's like $10.50 an hour. I ended up turning that down and stayed in Omaha to do an in-house interior designer. That lasted 1 year, and then that company started developing large power centers back in the late 80s when they started coming out in Arizona, and didn't do any interior design after that. Really got into development for shopping centers, and then from that point moved to Baltimore, Maryland to work for the #1 largest shopping center developer at the time. And I always believe if you want to learn, an industry, find out the top #1 company and go work for that company. So I was fortunate to have a job. I was pretty persistent. I'm still really good friends with my boss who hired me. And she told me the reason I hired this girl from Nebraska is because she was so persistent on wanting to work for us that I finally hired her. And it cracks me up today. And they moved me to Baltimore, Maryland to work on a Towson Town Center, like a 4-level mall expansion. And then did that, and then had some crazy idea of wanting to go to acting school to take a break.
Oh,
you probably
wow.
don't even know this.
I did not know that.
I saw an ad for the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in the paper that they were having auditions. And I went down to DC and had to do a couple of monologues. I knew nothing about acting. And I said, if I get this, I am moving. And I did the auditions. I can still feel to this day walking into that room of how nervous I was to do those monologues. And then I ended up making it into the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I could go to New York or LA, and I chose LA, and I quit my mall job, drove across country, and ended up in Pasadena, California for a 6-week program at the Vagabond Motel. Oh my gosh. Thinking back, and then did that for a while, loved that. And then the 1994 earthquake happened, and a mall out of the blue found me to get the tenants reopened. It was supposed to be a 3-month gig, and they ended up hiring me and moved me to Dallas, and I was on that mall for 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And then we have 2 boys. And so anyways, I met my husband in Manhattan Beach, California. We ended up moving to Dallas. So I ended up getting back into the mall business, overseeing that. And then they ended up selling all of their malls to a big developer. And I stayed home with our 2 boys, which are now 21 and 23 years old.
And one goes to Texas and one goes to Oklahoma or Nebraska?
The Oklahoma one finished, and he's in commercial real estate with my husband, who's also doing commercial real estate. And our youngest is out at San Diego State, finishing up there as a senior. And then, after I finished shopping center, being on the landlord side, I was offered a job with Brinker International doing Chili's development from the ground up. And then that's another company I believed in. I thought I wanted to own a restaurant. And after developing more than 50 Chili's from the ground up, I realized I didn't want to own operate the restaurant. I wanted to own the real estate.
Sure.
And I started my own company, Goodwin Commercial, in 2006. And we've been developing We specialize in single tenant net lease properties, and we buy land and lease it to Walgreens, Chase, McDonald's, some of the national retailer, out there, and then do brokerage. And I'm on a mission to really help people invest in commercial real estate. I have a true passion for that. Most people think you have to have a lot of money. I always tell them that's the last thing that they have to have is the money, the deal. There's so much money. If you find the deal, we will find the money. We can partner together.
The you're an author too, correct? You've got a couple of books, right?
Right. I just launched my third one. Yes, that was Blaze Your Own Trail with 19 other women in commercial real estate. Just launched last month and became a #1 bestseller. Just top women in commercial real estate, asking them 15 questions from anything, how they got started to a failure they had in commercial real estate to negotiation tips. Just wanted them to share their information for the next generation to come into commercial real estate.
Yeah, listen, it's all in who you know, and it's so funny that when you said that back in your early days, you didn't, you thought you were going to do this, and you never know where you're going to end up. I mean, people laugh. My English teacher from prep school laughs at me when he sees when I say I'm an editor. He's like, "Of course, you like the word you were the worst in English. Five paragraph essay. You were terrible. I can't believe you're an editor." But you know what? I give my publisher's column every month to my editor, and he redlines it, and I just say, "Hey, make it sound better." That's what you do. But I'm pretty good. I've gotten good over the years. He doesn't redline as much, but I like to run on sentences. He's like, you just like, yak, 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 no period. So
yeah, that's how I feel about all those. Oh my gosh, all those algebra classes I took in high school and stressed over, and in college, and maybe took them a couple times. And here I'm dealing with multi-million-dollar projects and pro formas and, and all this stuff of math. And same thing, you talk about English and grammar. I've always had a fear. And here I have three books out. And like you said, hire people that, can do that for you if that's not your specialty. And, in that area is key.
Yeah. Talking about your roots, obviously your family was entrepreneurial, and now with your husband and everything. I have a question. That your son at San Diego State, is he going into real estate too to finish off the the real estate, or not? Is he studying real estate?
He's studying business, but I think he does have a little interest, because I always encourage both of our boys now to start investing it. I mean, they say, what would you do what would you tell your earlier self? Even though people told me it's really to invest in real estate in your early 20s as soon as you can. And so I've been telling that, and he actually found his first property that we are looking at together to team up. And I've never seen him so excited. And I had him go meet with the local broker on the site to tour the property and ask him questions. So you never know if he'll be the next one.
Yeah. I have to laugh too at my first job out of college. I worked, I got my retail. I was in the retail management program at Levitt's, and I think I made $22,000 and back in, 85, 86, whenever that was. Anyway, some of my friends that were out of school, they thought I was a millionaire because they were only making like 16 or 17. But when you put it in perspective, like you said, your hourly wage, but when you compare it to today, I mean, I thought I was the big cheese, over 20,000. And
right. When I got offered to go to Maryland for 21,000 versus the Omaha job was paying me 19. That is so funny how I remember that. And it was the same time frame.
Oh yeah.
86, 87, 80, that time frame. And now,
and we're both 26. It's amazing how that, how that works,
I know exactly. It's funny. Even when I get job offers today, every once in a while, they offer me a job, and it's like, I made that, 20 years. It's so funny. Yeah. The jobs really have, I mean, the average now is probably for my field is like anywhere from 100 to 150,000 for project management development. And that's what I made in 1994, that same amount. And so I'm like, the harder I work, I have to become an entrepreneur because it's a good amount, but if I work hard, I want to make a lot more money than that.
And your first book, Barbara Corcoran, she wrote your forward in your first book, right? And
Yes.
that was Lemon, right? Lemonade? Is that what it was?
1 cent lemonade to $1 million deals. Yes, it was so nice to have Barbara provide my testimonial for my book. And a lot of people ask me, how do you get Barbara to do that? And my thing with anything is if you don't ask, you don't get. And
yeah, you
so
don't
I've
know.
always been, you don't know. And I've been a big fan of her. So I'm like, I'm just going to go on her website and contact her and see what it takes to do this. And you know what? I got a response and we set it up. Her person vetted me, set it up with me. I flew to New York City, supposed to be a 1-hour meeting, and we ended up having a 2-hour meeting. And I learned so much from her in that 2 hours besides the testimonial. It was just amazing. So if you want something, you just go out there and ask. Find a way. I have a motto, find a way, and never, never, never give up are my 2 mottos I always say.
You know what? I always tell people, look, if you don't know, ask, and then you'll know. Just like, if I'm trying to sell ads, there's this one firm, she always tells me no, but I always send her, I forget what, I think she's an engineering firm. Anyway, I always pitch her, hey, you should run an ad. It's the engineering issue. You're doing engineering. You're one of the top dogs in the sector, and they do probably $1 billion a year. They can afford my little ad that they run. But every time she said, oh, David, I'm going to tell you no. And I just say, hey, you know what, Mary, I have to ask you, because if I wasn't a good salesperson and I didn't get your no, I wouldn't get my numbers, because I know it's a numbers game. I'm going to get X amount of no's, but the yeses will flow in there, here and there. Sometimes they come in bundles. Sometimes they're spread out. But if I didn't ask and get the no, I wasn't doing my job. I leave it on the table for her, for the remainder of the year. But she always tells me no every year, and I'm like, hey, Eric, I'm getting my yearly no. That's okay, But
don't they say the no is just not now?
yeah, not now, or you have to ask for the sale a couple times. It's the first no is like, it doesn't mean no. It means you got to figure out a way to tell them, to make it yes. So I have no problem I get no all day. I mean,
I think it used to be about 5 or 6 or 7 touches, and now I think it's like 10 or 15 touches to reach people, because everybody's so bombarded with different ways, and you have to be creative. I have found out by sending someone a quick, 10-second, 20-second video, to get their attention, some way to stand out. Even what really works is snail mail, sending them something. When you send me your magazine in the mail, I read it. I love it.
Yeah, the snail mail thing is listen, your cell phone's the best tool you probably have these days, because you got at your fingertips, you have the whole world in the palm of your hand. But I always tell people that use our data service, or if they want to reach out to any of the people that we featured in there. I tell them, I said, don't send them an email. They get that stuff all day. Don't leave them a voicemail. And, people pick up on their phone. If you want to make contact, you got to have a cell phone, or their personal number to get in touch with them. But I always tell people, look, my mail's been cut down. I mean, I still have my PO box at the post office, but even though we've gone digital, but my mail has basically cut down. But I tell people, look, curiosity killed the cat. So if you send a piece of snail mail for 61 cents or whatever stamp is these days, something's going to show up in that mailbox, and they're going to open it, because it's curiosity, and it doesn't show that you're overly aggressive, but it's just a nice way to personal. Like I pick probably 10 phone calls a day that I'll make with certain people that I want to talk to, because I'm shooting emails all day long. But the ones that are special, I pick up my phone that I want to have a conversation with. So, or Zoom, or whichever way you decide to do it. Not that email doesn't work, but you can definitely make yourself stand out. And I always tell people, if you're going to send a snail mail, always bridge that with something that, you can find on LinkedIn, or, Google that person or their company, and kind of bridge it with something that you can do, so they can, I always like looking up where they went to school. Like, I know you were a Cornhusker. So if I knew that and I was trying to reach out to you, I would say, hey, I went to University of Denver, we were pioneers, but I was close, so I can appreciate the Cornhuskers, because we used to go up to Boulder and watch, the Buffs play Nebraska every year when they would come into town, and before the Buffs went to the Pac-10. But it's one of those things, and with so many people trying to go after the same piece of business or make contact with that person or that store planner or the director of construction, or whoever it might be, you have to be able to stand out. And I like salespeople that are aggressive, but they're professional. I like people that that are persistent, and especially like with PR agents, everybody's trying to get content. Get in the mag. It's very tough to get in the magazine, but some of the people that are persistent and they find a cool way to get my attention, I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. I've seen some very innovative ways to get my attention, because God knows I get, by the time I get to bed and posting at the end of the night, on the other side of the world, China, Australia, Singapore, they're all getting up. So I start getting my email box right when I'm getting emails from across the world for other stuff. So by the time I get up, I've got all this other stuff when I've been trying to, it's the biggest treadmill in the world. But I love snail mail. It's the best. I have chicken scratch. No one can read my handwriting, so you don't know what I said in my note, but it's there. So, well, let's talk about, Dallas, and, obviously, Texas, wide open, everybody and their mother's moving there, from other states in the country for one reason or the other. And, obviously, Texas, everything's big in Texas. So, looking back from March of 2020, when everything went kaput, until today, talk about how you weathered the storm, in commercial real estate. And, for our listeners out there that might, find out some things or knowledge nuggets that, hey, maybe we should try that, or so forth. Tell us what you went through.
I think it was a really challenging place for everyone. I had a double duo I was diagnosed with breast cancer October of 2019, and in 2020 I was going through breast cancer. And so at that same time it was challenging. But in commercial real estate, thank goodness, we were in Texas. We were, closed down for a small, portion of it, like everybody, but it was still really, really booming. And now where we are today, here in Dallas, you can always tell by the roadways, everything is so crowded. We've been here 26 years, my husband and I, when we moved here 26 years ago from Los Angeles. And you can just see the maximum amount of growth. And, what's still popular today, it's the specializing more on the retail and restaurant side. There hasn't been as much, construction happening. So the retail, usually office is very, very popular here. And as we know what's happening, people are still not at capacity to returning to work, even though it seems like a lot of people are I get calls all the time, moving out of a high rise and now just want one store. I think they want to be able to park at their office, walk in the door. I guess, during that time frame, we've learned to really kind of simplify things if they want to come back to the office. But back to the retail and restaurant, we're still booming here in Dallas because we have no mountains and no beach. We eat out a lot and we shop a lot. And with not a lot of new development happening, a lot of those we do not have a lot of vacancies, and it's still continue to boom. And I think what else is happening, we just recently, a few weeks back, we had the ACM Awards, which are typically, Las Vegas, Nashville, and a lot of people are coming to Dallas. It's very popular. It's an easy place to fly in with DFW and our Love Field in and out. So we are still booming here, and I have seen land prices, it just keeps going. We're almost to the Oklahoma border. It just keeps going north where I am. And it's to me, it's an exciting time.
I always like counting the amount of cranes that are up, in a city. We went downtown in Atlanta, a couple of weeks back for an Atlanta United game, and we were invited to a suite. And we were going through downtown. I told my wife, I'm like, hey, let's count out how many cranes there were. So we're counting, as we going to, traffic trying to get off the highway. And there were about 15 that were down there. And like Texas, we were only shut down for, I think Georgia was one of the first states that really opened up, and the governor took it on the chin, opening. But for the most part, we had 3 projects that were right around the corner from us, and they just, I watch all these I always watch like construction projects, if I'm driving to the post office or wherever it might be, and I see something, I like seeing it getting built over that time. But, construction here kind of just, it didn't matter if you were, essential or non-essential businesses. Those projects went right along. And, obviously, they had to take all the PPP, precautions and so forth. But it was, it was a very, very interesting time. But, you talked about the commercial real estate. I just read a report where in the United States, I think it's 49% occupancy rate, in commercial real estate. So a lot of people, they want to go to ball games, they want to go to concerts, they want to go to the beach, they don't want to go back to the office. And or they've proven themselves to be, work out of the house, and maybe they want to go to the office, but they only want to go there a couple days a week, as a hybrid. Just up in New York, and people in Manhattan told me, I don't come in on Mondays, I don't come in on Fridays. It's a ghost town in the city. Wednesday, Thursday, everybody comes in, or whatever their day is that they've selected to come in. And so I feel for the businesses out there that have these, big offices, and a lot, whether they want their people to come back or not. It's kind of you gotta walk the tightrope, because you don't want to tick off your employees because they prove themselves that they can be productive. And a lot of people over the last couple of years had some of the most productive years that they've had. Their employees, they don't have to burn gas, sit in rush hour traffic. I can go down the list of all those things on commuting that's just a drain on you, where you can work out of your house. And if you needed to, you can do the Zoom meetings, or if you want to keep that company culture. But a lot of people now are, looking as their leases come up for renewal, just like you said, I want to go to a first story building, not multi-level, or can I cut down my space and whatever it might be. But a lot of companies also have grown their staff and so forth. So they're upgrading, and there's a lot of good deals, that are out there for real estate, for expansion, et cetera, or if they've opened other offices around the country. So it's kind of a catch-22, with trying to figure out, where everything's at. I was in Denver in the 80s. I was there right when the oil bubble kind of burst, and all the buildings were all empty in downtown Denver. It was, but now 20 some odd years later, I look, the place is packed. You can't, it's probably one of the most expensive cities to live in, other than, maybe LA or New York, and price per square foot. And they've got cranes going on, and they're still building down there, in the Mile High City. So it's, it's kind of a conundrum for, if you are, an owner of real estate and you've got these tenants, what do you do? And so but that's where, ingenuity and creativity comes into play. And, you just got to get it done, whichever way, it's going to be. And
right. I wanted to, talking about innovation like that, what's happening with these office buildings here. I just toured 2 of them with an owner who just bought them at a really good price. And both of them are now going to be converted into condos, and he's doing them 55 and up. So the office spaces, it's fun. I mean, I've seen some of these, we have here department stores that they're being converted into pickleball, because like Texas is like a top pickleball place now. And we're going to have the championship here, but those department stores are turning into, pickleball locations. They have, big space, not, everything that's needed, just clear out all that and make some. That's very popular, especially indoor courts here.
Yeah. That really is, innovation. What am I going to do with this space? Over the next 5 years, especially with AI, coming into play, and just in general businesses, we're in construction and development, but taking those spaces that are available and what you're going to turn them into, it'll be interesting to see, if you look 5 years down the road, what those, empty spaces were, and now what they will be. and you can say, hey, I did that, I was innovative, I came up with that idea, or it was a collaboration. But look what we did with this space. We reused it, and made it profitable once again. But I'll tell you, they did a great job at Love Field. But I remember that was a dead airport. I mean, it was dead. It was cool because it was right downtown. If you're coming in for an event or someone that was down there, you can hop, skip, and a jump. Boom, you're there. You're downtown. Not like DFW, huge, massive. But they just renovated that. When I flew up to New York, I hadn't been in the city since since March of 2020, and I always fly into LaGuardia. Take the train in, and I came in, and I'm like, I'm not in Terminal D. Where am I? Am I at the same airport? And I didn't. So someone told me, oh yeah, they rebuilt LaGuardia. Now I grew up in the city in Manhattan, so LaGuardia had been doing construction for umpteen million years. Right. There were always orange barrels. They were, but they never kept everything done. So finally, during the shutdown, the roller coaster, they basically redid everything all at once. And I was amazed at what a nice job they had done on the airport. I mean, JFK is nice, but it's way out there. I mean, so
I think I told you last year I was doing
the
airport development and working with a company. And if you ever have a business with opportunity at the airports these days, I was blown away of how much all of these airports, from small to the large ones, like you mentioned, LaGuardia, all of the commercial real estate property that they own, and the opportunities that you can do in the airport. I just flew out of DFW, and I was, walking around one small little area. There was a chiropractor getting adjustments before you get on or off the plane, and he was busy. It was like, people were waiting to see him. I'm like, I love innovation like that, of taking spaces and new uses. And I think that's what happened over in 2020. People had to reinvent themselves, and they used the word a lot, pivot. And a lot of new businesses came out of that, and innovation and concepts and pop-ups. You had to be creative.
Yeah, it really is amazing, what's going on. And I always listen, I'm a positive guy. Negativity, I just don't have time for it. So, if you're positive out there, obviously, if you're in commercial real estate, some of your property is going to do better than others, just like some stores or restaurant locations are going to do better than others. That, you got to stay positive, because something will come, or a light bulb will go off, and you'll be able to figure those things out. Maybe not exactly the way that you wanted it to go, but in general, you got to roll with the tide. I hate to say it like that, roll tide, but anyway, to a Cornhusker. So but commercial real estate, it's basically, when you look at it, it's all tied to construction, development, facility renovation. It's kind of, it's always tied to the hip in some way or fashion. And you can't build until you've got the leases done or the contracts done for the space, and finding that space, location. So just like in Dallas, like if we do an event in Dallas, I know the people in Fort Worth don't like coming over to Dallas, or Dallas people don't like going to Fort Worth. That's kind of a rivalry thing. So I always like to do an event like in between, by Arlington or Las Colinas or whatever. So I don't tick off anybody, because we want them both to come in, but am I right about,
Yeah, you're right. I was just in Fort Worth yesterday telling the person from Florida that I was meeting with in town. And it's like, this is a whole different city when you mentioned Fort Worth versus Dallas. And you're right.
Yeah, Fort Worth has boomed. I'm just amazed at that the amount of expansion. I mean, Fort Worth was just, it wasn't, it was kind of a
cow town. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, now it's if people are coming in there, they're moving to Fort Worth, because it might be a little cheaper to live than Dallas is, because Dallas is more established, but still the amount of building and construction that they've done is amazing. And it's like I said, location. So
yeah, I was driving down by the Stockyards, the new Drover Hotel in Fort Worth. If you ever get there, it's an amazing, beautiful hotel. But yeah, trying to find a place to park, I had to avoid all the horse poop.
yeah.
I was not in Dallas anymore. I'm in Fort Worth when I have to, I did go around it.
Well, when I was in Denver, when the stock show would come into Denver, it was a 2 or 3 week long, event, and at the stockyards, and we would go down and go see the tractor pull and all that stuff, and those were fun days, man. I mean,
Yeah.
people like I tell my son like tractor pull, and he's like, "What? What the heck is that?" I'm like, "Oh no, man, we used to go down. We used to go to downtown Denver. You go to the stockyards. We'd walk the thing, look at all the the steers and the tractor pull, and bring the fraternity brothers down there." And so he's like,
That's
tractor
funny.
pull. I can't imagine what a tractor pull is. I'm like, bro, I've done a lot of stuff. Tractor pull's one of them. So
That's like kind of like cow tipping, where I'm from.
yeah, cow tipping. I know what that is, believe it or not. So what's probably one of the coolest projects that you've seen or that you've done over the last couple of years for Goodwin Commercial that you've done that you're proud of? Not to put you on the spot either.
Lately, I've just been focusing on just brokerage, selling investment properties,
Mm-hmm.
is what I've been doing. And I did sell a big office building. I think the thing I, have been most proud of actually, once you're diagnosed with something, we were able to create something called Kiss Breast Cancer Goodbye. We've been having it in Nashville. And our headliner the first year in 2021 was Dolly Parton. So that's really in the last couple of years, but a big, huge achievement of mine that I've been able to do. But I'm really now just really, really focused on developing properties and collaborating. I really learned after that event. I had just a small idea and collaborated with a friend of mine, and we turned it into this big deal at the Country Music Hall of Fame. So I've really learned to collaborate with people, and now I'm collaborate on developing property here in Texas and elsewhere. So that's what I'm really focused on these years.
That's just like taking a negative and making a positive out of it. I mean, you went through your chemo, and you're still here, sitting here today, which is a good thing. And
Amen.
listen, I have melanoma. I know that
Right.
that's like the worst. I remember when they took the mole off my face, and then 2 years later it came back, and I called my doctor, the dermatologist. I remember going into it. It was about the same time, 4th of July weekend, and he took the biopsy. Go have a good weekend. And I came back, and he shut the door, and he said, he's my age, and we were the same age, and he kind of just shut the door, and I looked at him, and he goes, "Hey man, that's melanoma. That's really bad stuff. That
Oh,
could kill
wow.
you. We need to get that off your face." So but when you're told that stuff, you just don't know how to handle it. And I was like, and I kind of knew, because the mole was kind of funky, and it just, I just had a feeling that it was going to be what it was. So I was prepared for it. I'm a Dale Carnegie guy. So I know what's the worst that can happen and what's the best that can happen. And of course it was the worst, but I went through it 4 surgeries later, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was it made me a better person. It humbled me. And for everybody out there, that's got something going on, you got to keep the faith. And
Right. Exactly.
you got to stay positive, because positivity can definitely heal your body. And that whole schematic of trying to get over something that you really don't have any control over, and you got to trust your doctors and all that stuff. Just like in real estate, you got to have a good attorney that can read through all the legal jargon. And I always tell people, if you ever go into business, get a good attorney that has your same vision, have a good doctor, and surround yourself with people that are positive. Because negativity is cancer, as far as I'm concerned. It can ruin
Oh, yeah.
it can ruin a company. So going through that, it probably made you a better person, a stronger person, but also you accomplished it, overcome it, and now you started your charity. So congratulations.
Yeah, I think before, and what I always tell people is, before probably even like you, maybe, and just kind of coasting through life and everything's good, and how one day can change your life, and it's a big wake up call. And I used to put goals off. Okay, I'll do it next year, maybe whatever time frame. Time, which I always knew is so important, but I have really, sped things up. It's like if I I don't wait to make the phone call. I don't wait to send the something. Everything is, you know, a lot quicker these days. And it's a big wake up call. It's weird. And so that's how I live my life. You're right. I'm positive Pam, and it's all
Positive
about the
Pam.
attitude.
Yeah. Pam squared.
Persistent, positive Pam.
Positive Pam. You know, when I was told I had melanoma, I was walking the restaurant show in Chicago, and it was before my surgery, and I saw that University of Denver had a booth there. And when I went through graduation, but I had to take like one or two classes. Anyway, I started working, and I just blew it off. And I was walking the show. This is back in like 2006, 2000, you know, somewhere in that time frame. And maybe a little later. It was somewhere in there. But anyway, I was at the show, and I saw the university, and I said, I got to get my diploma. I got to finish it. I got to get that piece of paper because my parents have spent all that money on me. And so I talked my way back into school, and I was a double major. So I was a political science and economics major. And I had to take a couple of econ classes, and I had to write it like an independent project. And but if I didn't have cancer, if I didn't have the melanoma, I probably wouldn't have gone back and got my piece of paper. But I went back, you know, because I had that epiphany. You know, I was like, okay, before I go, you know, whether it's hopefully later than sooner, that you know, that I wanted that piece of paper on my wall. So I went back and I talked my way back in school, and it was, you know, it was funny.
I love that.
I was 46 years old. And so yeah, maybe it was like late 2000, you know, it was during the you know, when the housing collapse in 2008 to 2.
Yeah, that was 08.
Yeah. So anyway, they were like, well, you need to live on campus. And I said, look, I have 14 employees, and I've got, you know, I live in Atlanta, you know, I don't need this. So I said, I've already lived on campus. I lived in the fraternity, you know, and then I lived off.
Funny.
So they said,
I love that.
So there were 6 econ professors. So the chairperson for the department said, look, if you can get one of these professors to oversee you, I have no problem with that. So one by one, they all blew me off. No. I got no all day. So finally, I wrote the email to the chair, and I said, look, Dr. whatever his name was, I said, look, you know, I'm a good alum. I donate already, you know, to the lacrosse and hockey team because that's what I played when I was in school. And I just said, look, none of these guys are going to do it. If you don't do it, I'm going to write I'm going to write the chancellor a note, because I knew how expensive the classes were. I said, look, this is just money that the school could have, you know, and I want this piece of paper. So finally, Dr. Freeman, Kathy Freeman, you're the best out there. She wrote me an email right after New Year's and said, hey, David, I heard your story. I'm going to help you. Here's, you know, buy this book, have it delivered now. We'll give you all the notes. So I used to go in for the 2 classes I need for econ. I went in and I scheduled trips when I was going out to Vegas. I would go fly into Denver. I would take my midterm, took my final, and then I would fly to Vegas. So I did that for 2. And then she said, hey, you know, I know you need a political science. When you go over there, tell them that I oversee this environmental class that I'll take. You can write a 50-page paper on it, and that could be, you know, have them sign off on it. And I lucked out because the chairperson had just had retired, so they had a temporary chairperson in the political science department, and she just signed off on it, and I wrote the paper, and there it was. But I was down in the dumps because, like, oh my God, I can't believe none of these professors are going to help me. And then this one professor said, hey, I heard your story. I'm going to help you. So you can't get down. You got to take.
That's right.
And so when I was talking about the no's, I lived it. I didn't take no for an answer, because I was like, I want this thing. There's got to be a way that I can get there. And I'm not living on campus. But the weirdest thing was, I was 46 and I'm going into this class, and Dr. Freeman said, I don't get it, David. I have my students here spending, you know, 6 hours in class a week on, you know, economics, and you come in and you're getting almost hundreds on all these tests. What's the deal? You know, and I said, to be honest with you, I wasn't thinking supply and demand or the Leffler curve in 1984 or whatever it was. I was partying and skiing and doing my thing. I wasn't thinking about that stuff. But after becoming an entrepreneur and running a business and all this stuff, everything that I was oblivious to, actually, I could, you know, as I studied, it meant something to me. So it was a very interesting how that all went down. But when I got that, when they mailed me my diploma, my wife got it framed and we put it up on the wall. And it was just but it all goes back to finding out about melanoma. And if I didn't get that, I probably wouldn't have done it. But it was one of those things. It was a kick in the butt. Hey, go get that done. It was like a little voice in my head. Go get that done.
Right.
And
so I tell everybody today, don't wait for that kick in the butt. Do it today. Don't wait for something to happen like what happened to us. Just go, focus on that. Find a way and never give up on that number one goal.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? If there was one positive thought or phrase that you want to leave with our listeners out there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk, what would that be as we enter the second half of the year and we're going into Q3 and Q4?
To think a lot bigger. We think too small when like I mentioned just briefly, when we were going to do the charity. What I had in mind was a small idea of just donating 10% with this person who had a business, and we collaborated together, ended up being this huge, big thing. I think I really learned just to really, really think a lot bigger and find people to collaborate with. You cannot do it by yourself. I'm so used to, as an entrepreneur, trying to do everything myself. And in the last 3 years have learned to collaborate. It has completely changed my stress level, my business, and be able to get to that next level and higher. So think big and find a way and never give up.
Yeah, I'm with you. Never, ever give up. And thinking big is definitely the way to go, because you never know how big it can get, but you got to get it rolling. So
take action. That's right. You got to take action. Stop thinking about it and take action.
If someone wanted to reach out to you and talk real estate or, find you on the web, how would they reach out to you?
Best way is my email is pam@pamgoodwin.com. And my website is easy. It's pamgoodwin.com. And I love talking real estate. So send me an email. I'm happy to give my cell phone number too, 214-929-9013. Send me a text and let's connect and collaborate.
And where can they find your books? Are they on Amazon or?
All three of them. Yes, they're all on Amazon.
Well, if you're interested in finding your books, type in Pam Goodwin, author or whatever, and they'll pop up. And 1 Cent Lemonade. And what were the other 2 books called?
Winning Ways in Commercial Real Estate. And the other one is Blaze Your Own Trail. 20 women share their secrets to success.
Secrets to success. Tongue twister.
That's
Listen, if you've got any real estate questions or you're looking to, growth plans in the Dallas metro area, Fort Worth, Dallas, wherever, give Pam a call. She'll help you out. If anybody wants to reach me, you can get me at David C, like Cat David C, at ccr-mag.com. It's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me something, I can't look at it, So if you got, it could be a charity event, it could be personal, it could be a project, new product list, whatever it might be. Look, we look at everything, and I try to keep my email box as clean as possible, even though they get filled up overnight. But I will come back to you, and if I post something for you, I'll send you the link. I'll ask you to share it. It's good for both of our SEOs, and and don't buy. Look, it's very tough to get into the magazine, but we have a bunch of social media channels, and we had millions of people hit the website every month. So send it to me, I look at everything, and you never know. Let me be the person that's going to tell or you can't do this, but I like it here. So and I'm always thinking. So send it to me, and we'll take care of you, and we'll get you some ink. And I haven't been doing this on a lot of my videos, but you know what? Hit that like button too. We want you to like it so the algorithms find us out there, on YouTube land there. So, well, Pam, pleasure having you as a guest. I know you've been to my summit. You've been you've been my keynote way back when we had the show and it was rolling. And we've known each other for a while now. So it's been a pleasure knowing you over all these years, and I'm glad that you're still kicking. You know what I mean?
Yes. Still kicking. That's right.
That farm girl from Cornhusker, you can't keep her down, man. It doesn't matter what.
Right.
And You know,
Thank you for everything. You always do such great stuff, your summits, conferences, your magazine, this, everything. Thank you for having me on today.
yeah, no, listen, it's been a pleasure, and you know, the honor's all mine to, you know, to be associated with you. And you know, we got some exciting things coming up. This is like the first year I've been back on the road. You know, I'm bringing back my receptions. We had a reception in New York a couple weeks back. I've got a Braves game next week. We've got about 80 people coming to the terrace, and
Oh, how fun.
yeah, so
When
we're
is that?
it's June, it's Tuesday, June 6th, where we got the Braves versus the Mets at Truist Park. And I haven't even looked at the weather because I don't like, you know, jinxing myself. So I just look at it the night before. So hopefully Mother Nature will cooperate and we'll have some nice weather. And then I've got Milwaukee. We're taking next month, we're doing the Milwaukee tool manufacturing tour.
Oh, wow.
Which I've never been in a manufacturing facility like that. So it's going to be really cool to see how drills are made and all that stuff that they do, Milwaukee tools. And we got I don't know, we're doing all the big cities, you know, all the way through the end of the year. So it's been nice getting on the road. Traveling, I could care less if I get another plane or not. But you know, traveling's no fun. You know, for those of you who think traveling's glamorous, it's not. You know, I hadn't traveled in 2.5 years. This first year I kind of got back on the plane. I'm like, you know what? I've been to Vegas. I've been to all that. You know, it is what it is. You know, and but it's good to get see people. That's been the fun thing. I've missed seeing my peeps, and in person you just can't get away from it. So and we got a couple of announcements that we're going to make this in the next issue with a couple of events that we're going to bring back, and so I think people will be psyched.
Well, thank you. I wanted to thank you too because you just do an amazing job of always supporting women, and the women events you have are just the best. So you just do a fabulous job. So thank you so much for that.
No, we got it. Listen, when someone came to me and said, "Why don't you have more people on your board?" And I didn't even realize it. So I went and looked at the circulation. I found out that half my circulation was female. So I was like, okay, well, now I'm going to, you know, we did the women's events, and now we have this women's magazine, and we're going to build that into a microsite, and who knows where that's going to go? I don't know. We'll see. You know, the future is, you know, you think you know what's going to happen in the future, but you don't, you know. So.
That's right. Well, thank you. All right. Good talking.
Yeah. Well, Pam, say goodbye from Dallas.
Goodbye from Dallas, Texas. Hope to help you someday with any of your commercial real estate needs, or if you just want to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, just below the Beaufort Dam here up on Lake Lanier, about 25, 30 miles north of downtown Atlanta, Georgia. So everybody, listen, you got the weekend ahead of you. You know, recharge your battery, you know, have fun with your family and friends, and then get ready to do it all over again next week. And if you're out there on the construction site, number one priority, be safe. We want you going home at night. And with the heat coming in, make sure you drink lots of water. We want you to make sure that you stay hydrated. So with that said, Pam, I look forward to seeing you in person, and you can, you know, maybe we'll go on tour and see some real estate, you know, and what's happening down in Big D. And to all you out there, we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Pam, you're the best. Look forward to seeing you. All right.
Thank you.
Yep. See ya.